Seriously, what the is going on at Real Madrid? Meanwhile, the Europa League GOAT has only gone and done it again. We got 3 new European Cup finalists, and Niklas Sule unexpectedly retires at just 30 years of age. This is DMAC Daily. Mr. Perez, a second UFC bout has just hit Madrid's training ground. Well, technically, it's the club's 5th internal conflict this week. I mean, we had video footage of Rudiger slapping his own coach in the face. Totally normal stuff, by the way. It was then confirmed shortly after that he also slapped fellow teammate Alvaro Carreras. Within that same 24-hour window, reporting emerged of a separate training ground row between Mbappe and the Madrid coaching staff. But these shenanigans were merely the entree for the main course. This time, a heated clash between key first-team midfielders Fede Valverde and Aurelion Tchouameni. The outcome, a traumatic brain injury. Okay, that's insane. Like, I know Madrid is probably the most farcical circus in town, but that's next level, right? I must say, I'm now looking forward to the final. Personally, my money's on Rudiger. Okay, I'm done being unserious here. Let me give you the full rundown of how we got to this ridiculous situation. This all kicked off on Wednesday during a training session where Madrid were actively preparing for their upcoming El Clasico fixture. A credible source speaking on the condition of anonymity stated that the fight started at the end of training and proceeded to continue even into the changing room, where the two had to be separated as it then got physical. Pretty significant, right? One of the club's captains crashing out at a fellow senior teammate, a high-profile one. The absolute last thing they needed considering the mounting negative headlines from within the club of late. Yet that was only the prequel of this conflict, as 24 hours later, it was deja vu. Now, The Guardian reported that the second incident began when Valverde refused to shake Tchouameni's hand at the beginning of training, accusing him of leaking the story from yesterday. The France midfielder denied, and it got increasingly more intense. The Athletic and ESPN contradict that narrative to a degree, suggesting that heavy tackles in training caused the issue to arise. Either way, it escalated further, leading into a fight in the changing room, resulting in cranioencephalic trauma to Valverde's brain and a visit to the hospital. Immediately, news circulated of Tchouameni reportedly knocking out the Uruguayan, but Valverde himself then released a public statement clarifying what actually unfolded, saying, quote, "Today we had another run-in. During the argument, I accidentally struck a table, sustaining a small cut on my forehead that required a routine visit to the hospital." And he also stated that my teammate didn't hit me, nor did I hit him. Although I understand that for you, it might be easier to believe that we beat the hell out of each other or that he intentionally injured me. That is not what happened. So make of that what you will. A leaked IG DM of Tchouameni has since done the rounds on social media where he suggests, "I didn't punch him. That's not true. That's all I can tell you. His head hit the ground." Guys, you gotta get the story straight. Did he crack his head on the table or on the ground? Make up your mind. Either way, just unbelievably toxic stuff. Valverde will now obviously miss this weekend's game. Standard procedure for a traumatic brain injury after all. I'd imagine Tchouameni will also be absent as well. Real Madrid released their own statement claiming they'll open up a disciplinary proceedings against both players. So that's the latest on the drama for now. Never a dull day in Madrid, is there? The only thing lacking at this point is Jose Mourinho. What could possibly go wrong if he were hired? But the chaos doesn't end there. 2 days ago, we reported on a story involving a petition called Mbappe out, demanding the Frenchman exit the club immediately. At the time, it had amassed roughly 7 million signatures. Well, in the 48 hours that have since followed, it has only exploded in numbers. As of recording right now, we're looking at over 42 million. That's a larger number than any petition ever made in all of human history. But it is important to preface that anyone can sign this and do so as many times as they please. Also, this clearly isn't just Madridsters that are signing this thing en masse. It's become such a popular story that people are just signing it as a joke at this point. The whole world has essentially turned on Mbappe. I will say, it does somewhat feel as though there is a collective hysteria taking place against the Frenchman. Like, clearly this club is in a state of utter turmoil from top to bottom, conflicts brewing wherever you look, yet Mbappe is often held entirely responsible for it all. I'm not claiming he's a saint by any means, but to suggest he's the only real problem at the club, I think is a bit unfair. Moving to the Europa League, and Aston Villa have fought back to reach their first European final in 44 years, overturning their 1-0 first leg defeat in a comprehensive 4-0 thumping of Nottingham Forest. Ollie Watkins opened the scoring at Villa Park after some brilliant footwork and delivery from Emi Buendia. A silly shirt pull from Milenkovic was then picked up by VAR, with Buendia converting from 12 yards. Chris Wood had a golden opportunity to level the tie in the second half, but Emi Martinez came in clutch, and soon enough the game was out of reach as John McGinn dispatched two beautiful first-time finishes to send Forest packing and Villa to Istanbul. Unai Emery, the Europa League king, has now reached his 6th Europa League final, and considering he's won 4 of his previous 5, I'd be quietly confident if I were a Villan fan. What an amazing job he's done with all the financial issues they had over the summer and the uninspiring recruitment that followed up. He's still got them in the top 5 with a trip to Istanbul on the horizon. He's quickly becoming a legend for the Villans. That being said, he's got a tough task on his hands in the final. They're set to meet Freiburg, who reached the final for the first time in the club's history following a 4-3 aggregate victory over Portuguese club Braga. Despite Braga coming into this second leg with a 2-1 lead, the tie swung dramatically in Freiburg's favour early on in this match, just 7 minutes in, when Dorgeles was sent off for hauling down Best as the German side broke through on goal. With the numerical advantage, Freiburg completely controlled this game. Their breakthrough was rather fortuitous, a bit of a freak goal. No denying the quality of the second one though. Johan Manzambi, the rising Swiss star, FM players, if you know, you know. The 20-year-old curling home from range brilliantly. Braga still threatened sporadically despite being reduced to 10 men, but Freiburg's pressure eventually told again in the second half. Kubler scored his second of the night with a powerful header to make it 3-0 to the home side. Pau Victor later pulled one back for Braga to create a tense end to the match, yet Freiburg held firm to secure a historic qualification to the final in Istanbul. The fans storming the pitch at full time, incredible scenes all around. This should be a fascinating final. The same thing can be said for the Conference League as well, with Crystal Palace and Rayo Vallecano advancing from the semis to make their first ever appearance in a European final. Crystal Palace secured their place, having defeated Shakhtar 2-1 at Selhurst Park, sealing a dominant 5-2 aggregate victory. Incredible to think that this club that went 120 years without a major trophy might be on the cusp of back-to-back major titles in 2 years. It would be the dream way to bow out of a phenomenal managerial spell for Oli Glasner too. That being said, don't sleep on Rayo Vallecano. The Spanish underdogs absolutely humbled Chelsea B on their own turf, deservedly advancing to the final in Leipzig, the first in their 102-year history. An incredible achievement for the modest, community-driven club from the working-class district of Vallecas in Madrid. This is a team that has historically existed in the shadows of the Madrid Giants, one that spent large periods of the 2000s and 2010s bouncing between La Liga and the Segunda Division, often battling financial instability and basically surviving rather than dreaming of Europe. Just look at the state of their stadium in 2026. Financially, they are very limited, but remain a resourceful club nonetheless. So congratulations to any Vallecano fans tuning into the show, if there are any. I truly admire your club and the values your community stands for. So congrats to you guys. This is also a great outcome for La Liga 2 as it results in an extra Champions League spot. So 5th place in the league will now also qualify for the UCL. Switching to German football news, and Niklas Sule has announced his shock retirement from professional football at just 30 years old, bringing a rather abrupt end to a career once expected to define Germany's next generation of elite defenders. The Borussia Dortmund centre-back made the decision after a recent knee injury scare that caused significant psychological distress after years of repeated injury woes. During Dortmund's recent match against Hoffenheim, Sule feared he had suffered a 3rd ACL rupture after feeling discomfort in his knee. Having already endured 2 major cruciate ligament injuries earlier in his career, he was expecting another grueling recovery process, although subsequent medical examinations thankfully showed the damage was not as severe as initially feared, although Sule has still ultimately decided enough is enough, as he doesn't want to put his body at further physical distress. Sule's retirement closes the curtain on a career that, at its peak, made him one of Germany's most highly regarded centre-backs. Rising through Hoffenheim, he quickly emerged as one of the Bundesliga's brightest defensive prospects before securing a move to Bayern Munich in 2017. At 6'5", Sule possessed a rare profile for a modern centre-back, physically dominant, quick across the ground, and also technically comfortable in possession. During his time at Bayern, he won 5 Bundesliga titles, the UEFA Champions League, multiple cup competitions, and the FIFA Club World Cup before later joining Borussia Dortmund. Internationally, he also earned 49 caps for Germany and was part of the 2017 Confederations Cup squad. So despite calling it a day a little earlier than the average pro, he's still a highly accomplished player, and it's completely understandable why he's retiring. Anyways, guys, that's all for this week's DMAC Daily. Appreciate you tuning in throughout the week, and I'll see you next time.